me. Then they came in the house. You see, but my mother didn't flee. Everybody else ran. My mother said, I'm going to pour water on and keep my house from burning. So we were still in there. And they, they destroyed my grandmother's sewing machine. They poured oil on her bed and set fire. They broke everything they couldn't take.
The violence, looting, and burning of buildings and homes spread so quickly that the Tulsa police couldn't keep up. The few police officers who were on the streets were scattered across the city, and the mob's numbers now were rumored to be somewhere between 5,000 and 10,000. And if any African Americans protested or put up a fight, they were killed. Even completely helpless people were killed. E.W. Maxey told how a blind man with amputated legs was murdered.
These white thugs had roped a colored man on the longest stump of his one leg and were dragging him behind the car up Main Street. He was hollering. His head was being bashed in, bouncing on the steel rails and bricks.
By 8 p.m. on June 1st, roughly 24 hours after the riots began, the atrocity concluded. Greenwood, with the thriving businesses, marvelous architecture, and beautiful homes, looked like a war zone. The Black Wall Street was reduced to charred remains. 35 city blocks destroyed, hundreds murdered, 10,000 now homeless, a legacy erased. Yet, not a single white home or church was touched. City officials moved quickly to cover the atrocity before the outside media could learn of it. They initially listed the number of casualties at 36, including blacks and whites, but eyewitnesses give a dramatically different count.
Our version was 312, and we do have the documentation to prove it. We've got the record.
Clyde Eddy and his friend saw bodies too and knows where they were quickly buried before they could be discovered.
I lived at 10th and Quaker, which is a block from the Oaklawn Cemetery. So we walked past the cemetery, and there was a whole big bunch of 8 or 9 great big packing crates, wooden packing crates. And there's about 8 or 10 men digging a big pit. Went over to raise the first lid, and there was about 3 or 4 bodies in it. Went over to the next one, there's about 4 more bodies in there. And there was about 6 or 7 more boxes. About that time, this guy comes over and he says, "You boys leave, you got no business in here." So we left and went outside the cemetery and stood and watched through the gate, through the fence, and watched them bury about 20-some bodies. No caskets, no nothing, just buried.
Even to this day, a small unmarked cross represents the spot of the mass grave in Oaklawn Cemetery. It's believed there may also have been as many as 4 other unmarked mass graves around Tulsa as well. But other victims weren't afforded the time or effort for even a hasty burial, but were rather subjected to a watery grave. Other eyewitnesses tell of mass bodies being dumped by the truckloads into the Arkansas River. Men with vibrant lives and families violently snuffed out, then discarded like meaningless debris, never to be seen or heard from again.